Hey Clashes, the Eternal Tome ability is going to be changed with the next update in Clash of Clans. And based on the update schedule of the last couple of years, we could expect the next update during mid-June. And I think we should take a look at the top 5 strategies before this change is actually going to happen. And for that, I will use a power score to rank every strategy. The first number is actually the difficulty, which means a 10 is super easy. That means it's pretty good. The next one, the second number, is actually the strength of the strategy, and 10 is again the highest score, which makes it super powerful. As well, because I think the strength is a bit more important, you can always multiply that number with 2 to make sure that we are getting the scaling right. And we're starting things off with the number 6 strategy, which unfortunately dropped out of this ranking because, well, other strategies were better and actually pushed it out of it, which means this strategy has not gotten any worse, but unfortunately just not making it into the top 5. A power score overall would be 19 over here. The power score, though, of the number 5 strategy is overall 22, and that is Warden Charge with the Fireball and Rocket Loons. And this one is an interesting one because it has a really, really low first number, which means it is really, really difficult, which means so much multitasking and not easy to execute whatsoever. But if you can master this, it is one of the strongest strategies in the entire game if you just take a look at the strength. The reason is you have all of the tools to control the fireball. It's one of the strongest equipments in the entire game. And if you can deliver that fireball, you have always really high chances of 3-starring. Another reason why this strategy is just so good is that it can take advantage of the strongest siege in the entire game, which is not easy because a lot of times we have ground expos or mortars covering the outside, and the flame flinger is kind of rough to use. But if the flame flinger can work for like it's 1.5 to 2 minutes, this siege is just so scary good. And with this strategy, you have the Warden to tank and support it if you want to. The other option is like what I just showed with Rocket Loons. Take advantage of the really high damage and that you can snipe down specific buildings. So you could snipe mortar, expo, things like that. Or just use the Yeti if you want to tank specific buildings. You have so many support tools that you can really take advantage of the strongest things in the entire game. But what makes this strategy so difficult? Well, after you have somehow executed the fireball, there's a lot of different choices you have. First one, what siege machine? As I just said, try to always take advantage of the fire fire flinger, even if it means that you have to invest a couple of your troops. The next choice typically is do you want to have the heroes, which means king and queen, with or away from your warden? Both works, but the more classic approach is that you have the warden charging on its own, while you have the heroes then on the other side, and they're always staying isolated because you want to have your warden keep going during the entire time. You see me as well zooming in, zooming out, scrolling around because you have to take, like, somehow control your fireflinger, other skeletons popping up, control your warden. If he dies, the attack is rough to recover. And as well at my heroes. When do we wall break? When we get into the base? How much value can we actually get? And as well, when to use the Royal Champion. All of those are things which you need to multitask and it's not easy. And on top of that, just sprinkle in some Rocket Loons. All of this sounds quite easy, right? Not really. But still, if you're somehow able to get the multitasking right, it is just such a strong strategy, which is really hard to somehow counter. Because with the Rage Gem of the Warden, you're empowering the healers, which means the Warden with the healers is roughly never going down if you're, in the important moments, are supporting it with spells. Freeze, Invis, or even a Rage. All of those spells are really nice to support the Warden. It makes them even stronger and not go down. And with that, 3 stars are always a given if you can master the multitasking. Next strategy is the number 4 strategy on my ranking, and that is going to be the Royal Champion Charge with the Super Hog Riders. A total score overall of 22 as well, but I just think it's a little bit more consistent and obviously not as hard to execute. The reason why I think this is such a good strategy is obviously, again, it's taking advantage of the Royal Champion Charge, which by now is by far the strongest opening in the entire game. What do I mean by that? Typically, you're having different phases of it, like during your attack. The first one is how you open the attack, which is, for example, a fireball during the Warden Charge, which can be a Royal Champion Charge, which can be a blimp. It can be many different things. But the Royal Champion Charge is just by far the number 1 opening. And if you have a strategy which is taking advantage of that, you have already a really solid strategy to go. It's now all about the follow-up. And I think Super Hawk Riders, if you really master them, have the chance of being like really high up there, which they literally are, because in my ranking, they're the number 4 strategy. But let's take a deeper look at how you actually execute this. You're starting things off to take down the flank of your hero opening with the Royal Champion, which means you want to take down some defenses to get control of the base, to get your heroes into that base. The highest priority for your heroes is typically the clan castle. And by that, I don't mean the building itself, I mean the clan castle troops. And even though the clan castle is at the bottom side, but with having my queen getting into that tower compartment, she's going to be able to lure the clan castle and is going to be able to take that out quite nicely and easily. The next important thing about the strategy is do not wait with the Super Hawk Riders. Yes, I have given my heroes a little bit of time to actually take down the key buildings, but at the same time, I'm now starting with the Super Hawk Riders, and things like the Scatter Shot, for example, could attack my Archer Queen. But because we started with those Super Hawk Riders early, we're now splitting the damage and making those defenses choose if they're attacking my Super Hawks or my Hero Dive. They can't attack both at the same time. This is why time management with this strategy is so crucial. As well, with the combination of the Eternal Tome, and as well the fact that heal spells can stack differential rage spells, for example, you can really overpower any area of the base, even if you're encountering a really heavily stacked rage tower with your Super Hawk Riders. The Royal Champion is just going to support the entire thing, and that's pretty much it, how you're playing this strategy. It is straightforward, but compared to other strategies which are going to be ranked a little bit higher, it is just a little bit harder to execute, because you have to funnel actually, you have to get the wall breaks right and things like that, which other strategies higher up might not really have to consider. Because now we're getting into the top 3 strategies, and the number 3 spot are dragons. Yes, I know, dragons, especially as well with the Yeti blimp, are super famous and are really strong. But if we're talking about consistency on a high level, I think it is not as strong anymore. This is why if you're taking a look at high legends, you rarely see the Yeti blimp with dragons together. It works many times, but never mess things up between, okay, this works because the game right now is on the easy side compared to it's actually good. And by on the easy side, I mean, if you're going back in history in Clash of Clans, and just take a look at the stats, for example, on a couple of websites, you see that back then, for the masses, there were hit rates, success rates of triples around the 10 to 15% mark. By now, we're at like 35 to 40% success, which is a huge difference, right? Like the masses were allowed to 3-star way more, which by the way, I think for the game is way more healthy. But this means now you can play things which you can execute and get 3 stars with, but at the same time are not the best. And this is where people are getting messed up. For example, if you're giving a pro like Klaus or Stars for Legends Barge into their hands, they'll probably get a lot of triple all the way. Would you say Barge is good because of that? No. It works because the game is somewhat easy and not because the strategy is good. And that is the same thing with the Dragons and the Yeti Clone Bomb. This one on the other side, and this is why I was like, now building this strategy up, is using the Royal Champion charge again, and it's just having so much more control, which means you're having a Royal Champion charge which is taking advantage of a lot of invisibility spells. You're going for just value. Important buildings like Monolith, raised up areas, things like that you're going for, and then you're just following up with those dragons. The dragons can deal a ton of damage, have the protection as well of the Warden, and with the minion prince ability, they're pretty much always staying alive. It is easy to execute, and it's strong at the same time, and this is why it's the number 1, and it's not even close. I mean, it's the number 1 by far dragon strategy in the entire game. It's all about consistency, and it's all about how strong the strategy can really pull off the 3-star against pretty much any base type there is. And this is really where this strategy shines. The mass invis Royal Champion charge with the Dragon Size follow-up, so time is less an issue because you ignore walls completely. Like, nothing in this army except the queen and the equipments there do care about walls. That's pretty much it. It is crazy, crazy good. And I just say, give it a try. It is really, really solid. But let's move on because we're getting to the number 2 strategy. And this might surprise some, especially considering what type of videos I was uploading recently, because we're taking a look at the Super Yetis. Yes, they're not on the number 1 spot, and the only difference here is that they're a little bit tougher to execute. You can see only a score of 6. The reason for this is that you have to funnel them, you have to wall break for them, and you have to have a good understanding of what the Yuck, the jump spell, and as well the earthquake boots can do for you during an attack. Where do you need to wall break? You have to count those, plan for it, and really make sure that you're planning the entire attack through to know where to use the jump, where to use the earthquake boots, and where to rely on the Yuck to have an as controlled pathing as possible. But if you're able to do that, then I think this strategy is literally on a power score from 10.5. But not many can do that. And I think this is why I think it's a fair second seed in this ranking, where the difficulty is in the ranking as well. Without difficulty, this would be the number 1 strategy if it's just based on strength. But it's not. We're going to take a look at strength and as well how difficult it is to execute the strategy. The opening of this is, I'm sorry, but yet again, taking advantage of the Roy Champion charge. You're trying to somehow create a pathing in the funnel. Pretty much the same as what you did with the Dragons or earlier with the Roy Champion charge with the Super Hawk Riders. But this time around, you're following things up with the Super Yetis. And the difference here between Root Riders is you have to wall break them in and control them, because they're not just going from defense to defense, but as well to regular buildings. But this on the other side is as well the same reason why I think power score wise they're a little bit better. Because they can defend themselves versus defending clan caster troops, versus defending heroes, and they're staying closer to your other heroes, because if there's a defense, a storage, and then a defense, they're not just bypassing the storage, but instead they're staying closer to heroes, so they're working better together as a death ball, which means the healers can work way better of actually protecting them. For this one, we were layering, first the wall breaks, then the jump, now the earthquake boots, and with that we're able to overpower pretty much the entire base, and there's roughly any defense left anymore. We have an insane amount of spells still left, and this is really what you need to learn, layering your options to get through walls, because this is the most important thing and the only weakness of Super Yetis. If you can take advantage of the things you have in this army to get through walls, like the Yak, wall breaks, jump, and the earthquake boots, if you can somehow manage that, no base is standing a chance whatsoever. But as well, if you're trying to pick this strategy up, don't be frustrated if it won't work in the beginning. You will take some time, especially if you're relying on the Root Riders and on the Dragons earlier, because getting the funneling right, getting the wall breaks right, getting the pathing right will take some time and practice. And this, it's why it's only on the number 2 spot. And number 1, yeah, no big change since like month, but hey, we're back to the Royal Champion charge with the Root Riders. And I think they're still deserved on the number 1 spot, especially because how easy they are. You don't really have, like, the funneling is just so little, but still, let's take a look at how you approach the base. First off, you're doing the exact same as with the Super Yetis. The difference here, though, is that you only take care of defenses, which means if you're not able to, like, let's imagine, instead of an air defense, there would be like the hero hall in there. If there's the hero hall in this compartment, you need to consider that for the Yetis, because they might target that and backtrack. On the other side, for the Royal Champion with the Root Riders, you just only care about defenses. And this is like one of the most important things you should learn in the beginning when picking up the strategy. Create a vision where you're ignoring pretty much the majority of regular buildings. By regular buildings, I mean storages, collectors, army camps, such things. Only care about defenses, because this is going to be the pathing of those Root Riders. You don't need really wall breaks or anything. They will just go from the monolith into the spitter, into the expo and everything. At this point, you just need outside troops, which is the Archer Queen with the siege barracks, to really keep them in the base. That's the only thing you have to do. For this army as well, by the way, there's overall 3 versions of this. You can remove the minion prince and just add the king, for example, to have an even stronger outside funnel. Or what you could do as well, instead of using the minion prince as I'm doing right now, you can use the Ash Queen in the middle and use the minion prince with the noble iron and the metal pants on the outside to funnel. All 3 options work great. Currently, this is my favorite based on the latest tests which I did. And with that, well, we were able to keep them in the base. They're opening the entire base with their special ability of opening the walls. The Valkyries are just going to follow up. The synergy is great here. And that is now the next thing. Root Riders are relying on support. If those Valkyries or your heroes or overall the damage troops behind your Root Riders are going down, you have a problem. Because those Root Riders itself, they're not doing any damage pretty much. They're just there for tanking purposes and as well for opening the compartments. Make sure that you have enough DPS troops behind them. Another advantage for them is the possibility of using Super Barbarians. As soon as the event is over, means that you can only take two super troops again, which means Super Yeti and Super Wall Break is like a no-brain combination, but this means you can't use Super Barbs. And Super Barbarians are one of the strongest, if not the strongest, support troop in the entire game. They're having great hit points, solid DPS, and you can combine them so well, especially with the Root Riders. And this is why this strategy has been the #1 strategy now for over half a year, I think, roughly. It is just so good. And well, as always, all of the strategy links are going to be linked down below in the description. Let me know what your top 5 list is. And I'm really sorry, I'm only playing Town Hall 17, so I have only the strategies for Town Hall 17. But if the little pieces of those strategies are available for your town level, you can play the strategy pretty much the exact same way. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I wish you guys back tomorrow with the next one. Until then, see ya and bye-bye.